Welcome to the SPHR Deep Dive, tailor-made just for you. If you're navigating the intricate world of total rewards, especially, for that SPHR exam, then you're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're diving deep into benefits strategy, exploring health plans, retirement programs, and those essential work-life perks. Our mission is clear. We're here to distill the crucial knowledge, clarify key terms, demystify relevant laws, and maybe pinpoint those tricky exam pitfalls, making sure this stuff truly sticks.
It's more than just memorizing facts, right? What's truly critical for your SPHR success and real-world HR impact is understanding how these benefits, how they transform from mere perks into powerful strategic tools. They really reflect an organization's core philosophy. We'll examine the nuances of health plans like HMOs, PPOs, HDHPs, dissect the differences between defined benefit and defined contribution retirement plans, and finally, unpack the diverse realm of work-life benefits, all designed to build your confidence.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off with health plans. When we talk about options like HMOs, PPOs, HDHPs, we're really talking about different pathways to care.
Yeah.
Each balancing choice, cost, and control.
Yeah.
What are the fundamental distinctions here for someone gearing up for their SPHR?
That's a great way to frame it. The choice of health plan. It isn't just a financial decision. It's a profound statement about an organization's philosophy on control versus employee autonomy and, how it navigates employer liability against individual responsibility. Let's see how that plays out. Okay, first, the HMO, Health Maintenance Organization. With an HMO, you're often restricted to a specific network of doctors, right? And your primary care physician, your PCP, kind of acts as a gatekeeper. They coordinate your care, typically requiring referrals for specialists. The upside, for many, it's low premiums and minimal out-of-pocket costs. Sources like opm.gov, at mana.com, they consistently highlight this coordinated network-focused approach. It's a way to control costs.
Okay, so an HMO gives the employer more cost control, but less flexibility for the employee. What happens if an employee really wants more freedom in choosing their doctors?
Right. That's where the PPO comes in, Preferred Provider Organization. This option offers, significantly more flexibility. Employees can see almost any provider in-network or out, usually without needing a referral for specialists. The trade-off, though, as Aetna points out, is typically higher premiums and often higher cost sharing, especially if you venture outside the network. It's really a balance. Premium cost versus freedom of choice.
And then the HDHP, high deductible health plan. That takes a different tack. It usually boasts the lowest premiums, but, the name says it all right. It comes with a very high deductible before insurance coverage really kicks in. These are often paired with an HSA, a health savings account. Lets employees save pre-tax dollars for healthcare expenses. Now, for your SPHR exam, focus less on memorizing specific dollar amounts. Those change every year. It's more about understanding the concept of these thresholds. Like back in 2014, an HDHP needed at least a $1,250 individual deductible. The principle of a high deductible, that's what you'll likely be tested on. HDHPs, they can be a good fit for, say, younger, healthier employees, people comfortable paying more upfront, maybe leveraging those pre-tax savings.
Exactly. And for HR, choosing a health plan. It's a strategic decision. HMOs minimize employer costs, administrative burden too, through those tightly negotiated networks, but they do limit employee choice. They're really about cross-predictability. PPOs offer broad choice, no referrals needed. That can be a strong recruitment tool, but they come at a higher cost for the employer, especially with out-of-network care. With HDHPs, employers save on premiums, employees build their HSA balances, but employees face those large deductibles, often over $2,000, sometimes more, before comprehensive coverage begins. This can strategically shift some risk onto healthier employees, maybe encourage more cost-conscious care. So, a fast-growing tech firm with young staff, they might lean towards an HDHP HSA, whereas a public sector employer might prefer an HMO for its cost predictability and easier management.
Got it. And for SPHR candidates, remembering the regulatory landscape here, that's absolutely vital. The ACA, the Affordable Care Act, looms large and mandates essential health benefits, caps out-of-pocket costs for 2024. That cap is $9,450 for individuals, $18,900 for families, according to healthcare.gov anyway. The ACA also ties plan generosity to actuarial value, AV. So a 70% AV plan means the insurer covers roughly 70% of average costs. Its metal tiers, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, they correspond to AVs around 60%, 70%, 80%, and 90%. And crucially, there's the employer mandate, the pay or play rule, right? For employers with 50 or more full-time equivalents, they have to offer minimum essential coverage. Then we have ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act. This sets federal rules on group health plans and retirement plans. Importantly, it preempts most state laws. It requires critical disclosures, summary plan descriptions, SPDs, Form 5500 filings. And let's not forget COBRA, for continuation coverage, and HIPAA with its non-discrimination rules. Barring denial of coverage for pre-existing conditions in group plans, that's huge.
And when you look at the formulas, your out-of-pocket maximum is basically the ultimate ceiling on your annual healthcare spending. To the total you'll pay in deductibles, coinsurance, copays, before the plan covers 100% of eligible services. But remember, it excludes premiums and out-of-network costs. That's key. And actuarial value, AV, like you said, is just the average percentage of costs paid by the plan. A 70% AV plan pays about 70% of costs. You cover the other 30%, roughly.
The SPHR exam loves to test these distinctions, doesn't it? What are some of the common traps people fall into?
Oh, definitely. Well, a classic pitfall is confusing the deductible with the out-of-pocket maximum. Just remember, the OOP max includes your deductible, copays, coinsurance, but excludes premiums and out-of-network costs. Got to keep that straight. Another common mistake is mixing up HMO and PPO features, or even confusing them with an EPO, an exclusive provider organization. You might see a question that implies an EPO is just like an HMO, or maybe that PPOs always cover out-of-network care at the same rate as in-network, which is often false. And never ever forget ERISA preemption federal rules usually trump state laws or those critical ACA requirements, like no lifetime limits on coverage, and coverage for adult children up to age 26. Those are big ones. To help you remember, maybe try the mnemonic HOP for health plans. HMO, think organizer for coordinated care and low premium. Then PPO, think most freedom, but higher premium. For ACA plan design, VWAP can be kind of useful. Valid enrollment by law, weight on essential benefits, actuarial value in those middle tiers, and penalty if the employer mandate isn't met.
Okay, let's test that knowledge. Here's a practice question. XYZ Corp offers both an HMO and a PPO. Under the HMO, employees must use network doctors, get PCP referrals. Under the PPO, employees can see out-of-network providers, but at higher cost. Which statement is true? A, the HMO option will always have higher premiums than the PPO. B, employees using the PPO may have no referral requirement, but may face higher out-of-pocket costs. C, the ACA requires XYZ to make both HMO and PPO options free for employees. D, under ERISA, the HMO option is exempt from ACA regulations.
Now let's break it down. The correct answer here is B, PPO plans. Yeah, they typically have higher premiums, but they allow that out-of-network access without referrals, often at a higher cost sharing for the employee. So statement B is true. A is false. HMOs usually have lower premiums because of those network restrictions. C is just incorrect. The ACA mandates coverage minimums, sure, but it definitely doesn't require employers to make plans free. And D is false too. ERISA does preempt state law in many cases, but ACA rules, like those about pre-existing conditions, still absolutely apply to ERISA-covered health plans.
Great explanation. Now, shifting gears. Let's talk retirement benefits. We've got two big categories, defined benefit and defined contribution. They might sound similar, but they're fundamentally different, aren't they, in how they allocate risk and define that long-term security. For both sides, could you maybe elaborate on this core distinction?
Absolutely. And this distinction, it's crucial for understanding an organization's long-term financial commitments and its whole approach to employee retirement security. So a defined benefit, DB plan, that's your traditional pension. It promises a specific benefit at retirement, often calculated with a formula based on salary and years of service. Here, the key is the employer bears the investment risk. They guarantee that payout. This promise is even federally insured up to certain limits by the PBGC, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation.
Okay, so DB plan, employer carries the risk. What about the other side of that coin?
Right. On the other hand, you have a defined contribution, DC plan. This is what most people are familiar with today. Think 401ks, 403bs. It involves fixed contributions, maybe by the employer, maybe the employee, maybe both going into individual accounts. Your retirement benefit then, it depends entirely on those contributions plus whatever investment returns your account generates. So in this scenario, you, the employee, you bear the investment risk. Your account value goes up, it goes down, and there's no PBGC guarantee on your individual account balance. It fundamentally shifts that risk.
And just like with health plans, laws like ERISA and the IRC are heavily involved here too. What are the key regulations SPHR candidates really need to know, especially around vesting?
You're right on track. ERISA governs both DB and DC plans. It sets crucial minimum standards for things like participation, vesting, funding, fiduciary duties, disclosure, the works. The IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, layers on the tax rules. Like contribution limits for 2023, it was $22,500 for 401k, 403bs, 457bs, plus an extra $7,500 catch-up if you're over 50. It also includes non-discrimination tests to make sure plans don't unfairly favor highly compensated employees. Again, for the exam, focus on the concept of these limits and how they apply.
Don't stress too much about memorizing the exact dollar figures that change year to year. The Pension Protection Act of 2006, PPA, that was also pretty significant. It tightened funding requirements for DB plans, demanding more accurate liability calculations, higher premiums to the PBGC. And for DC plans, it actually encouraged features like automatic enrollment, often with safe harbor protections, really aiming to boost participation. And then there's vesting. This determines when an employee fully owns the employer contributions made on their behalf. Now, you're always 100% vested in your own contributions immediately.
But for employer contributions, ERISA mandates specific schedules. These typically include cliff vesting. Maybe you're 100% vested after 3 years of service, nothing before. Or graded vesting, for example, 20% per year starting after year 1 or 2, reaching 100% by year 6. DB plans sometimes allow a bit longer, maybe up to 5 years cliff or 7-8 years graded. DC plans typically stick to those 36-year maximums. Both types require annual Form 5500 disclosures.
So strategically, how do these differences play out? What are employers thinking when they choose between DB and DC, or maybe offer one over the other?
Yeah, it's all about balancing predictability, attractiveness to the challenge you want, and managing risk. DB plans, they can be powerful retention tools, especially for long-service employees, maybe in unionized settings or government jobs. They offer that guaranteed income stream in retirement. But, like you hinted at earlier, they represent a huge financial liability, significant risk for the employer, tying up capital, exposing them to market swings. This is exactly why so many private sector companies have, well, moved away from them. DC plans, on the other hand, shift that investment risk squarely onto the employees. They offer portability, flexibility, which is really appealing to today's more mobile workforce. And generous matching contributions in a 401k. That can be a real draw, especially for younger talent. Features like automatic enrollment and auto-escalation, encouraged by the PPA, can seriously boost participation and savings rates, help improve retirement readiness overall. To measure the impact, HR often looks at the participation rate, what percentage of eligible employees are actually contributing. The target is often 80% or higher. Plus, things like the average deferral rate and the cost per participant.
Okay, makes sense. Now, for our SPHR listeners, where do they typically get tripped up when it comes to retirement plans on the exam?
Oh, good question. A common pitfall is definitely the nitty-gritty of vesting schedules. Understanding the difference between graded and cliff, avoiding those off-by-one errors in calculation, like does year 1 count for graded vesting? You need to know the plan specifics. Another trap is confusing ERISA, which focuses on employee protections, plan admin, fiduciary duties with IRC rules, which are all about the tax code, contribution limits, non-discrimination. They overlap, but they're distinct. And don't fall into the trap of treating DB and DC plan limits or rules as interchangeable. They're not. One simple mnemonic, just remembering DB/DC. Think benefit is defined by a formula, predictable. Contribution is defined by an amount, flexible. For vesting charts, maybe remember 3-6, often a 3-year cliff or a 6-year graded maximum under ERISA for employer contributions in DC plans.
Let's try another practice question then. A company sponsors a 401k plan. It has a 4-year graded vesting schedule, 20% per year after year 1, reaching 100% in year 5. Alice leaves after 3 years of service. How much of the employer contributions can she take with her? Is it A, 60%, B, 80%, C, 100%, or D, 0%?
All right, thinking this through. With this specific graded schedule, 20% vests after year 1. So after 1 year, she's 20% vested. After 2 years, she's 40% vested. After 3 years, she's 60% vested. So the correct answer is A, 60%. She gets 20% for year 1, 20% for year 2, and 20% for year 3. Total 60%.
Perfect. Now let's turn to our last big category, work-life benefits and perks. This feels like an increasingly vital area, doesn't it? All those non-wage rewards that genuinely support employees' lives outside the office. These benefits seem to be about so much more than just the paycheck. They really speak to employee well-being.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. This category links directly to Hertzberg's motivators. It focuses on total well-being, not just hygiene factors like salary. These perks are powerful drivers for engagement, for retention. They address those non-cash motivators like autonomy, family support, personal development. We're talking about things like EAPs, employee assistance programs, confidential short-term counseling for mental health, financial stress, legal issues. Really valuable. Then there's tuition reimbursement or assistance. Employers funding job-related education. Great for development.
Right. And we also see PTO, paid time off, often as a pooled bank combining vacations, sick, personal days. Some employers offer traditional amounts, others are even experimenting with unlimited PTO, though that has its own complexities. And dependent care assistance, that can include subsidies or, more commonly, dependent care FSAs, flexible spending accounts, allowing up to, $5,000 per year pre-tax for child or elder care via those IRC 125 plans, plus all the flexible work options, telework, flex time, these are huge now.
They really are. Flexible work arrangements, for instance. They've been shown time and again to improve work-life fit, and they can even be cost-neutral or positive if they boost productivity. Offering generous PTO or flexible schedules, it signals trust. It often leads to significantly higher employee satisfaction. I remember one company, they saw something like a 15% drop in voluntary turnover after rolling out a comprehensive flexible work program. It wasn't just the perk itself, it was the message it sent about valuing employees as whole people. Studies consistently link robust benefit programs to lower turnover, stronger employer brand. So for HR, you're looking at metrics like turnover rates before and after launching a perk, engagement survey scores, reductions in recruitment costs, even performance metrics. These help quantify that often intangible ROI.
And like everything else, compliance is key. Many of these perks have specific tax or legal implications we need to know. IREC Section 125 for cafeteria plans seems crucial here. It allows employers to offer certain benefits pre-tax, right? Like dependent care FSAs, health FSAs, even health insurance premiums. A key point for the SPHR exam, I think. A Section 125 plan must include a cash or taxable option to be considered tax qualified. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That cash option is essential for qualification. And then, of course, there's the FMLA, the Family and Medical Leave Act, entitles eligible U.S. employees, and the eligibility criteria are specific. Worked 12 months, completed 250 hours at a worksite with 50 or more employees within 75 miles, to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected leave. For things like birth, adoption, serious health conditions for self or family. HR departments sometimes joke that FMLA paperwork could build a small house. But seriously, navigating its complexities, especially around eligibility and intermittent leave, it's a constant challenge. And the exam loves to test those tricky scenarios. Critically, employers must maintain health coverage during FMLA leave, just as if the employee were still actively working. And other laws factor in, too. ADA accommodations might require flexible scheduling. OSHA ensures a safe workplace, which is foundational.
Okay, looking at this globally, how do these work-life norms differ? What should our SPHR listeners maybe keep in the back of their minds?
That's a great point to bring up. It really highlights how much work-life norms can vary across the globe. Contrast to the U.S., where FMLA provides unpaid leave, and there's no federal mandate for paid parental or vacation leave. Contrast that with many European countries. They often mandate several months of paid maternity leave, paid paternity leave, and usually several weeks of paid vacation time by law. So HR and multinational firms, they have to adapt significantly. For the SPHR exam, just be aware of this fundamental contrast. The U.S. model relies heavily on employer-provided perks and limited federal mandates, while many other developed nations have more government-guaranteed leave benefits. As for exam pitfalls here, don't overlook those annual IRS limits, like the $5,000 limit for dependent care FSAs. Misreading Section 125 rules, especially that requirement for a cash option, is a frequent trap. FMLA eligibility misinterpretations are also super common. For a mnemonic, maybe try FACT for FSAs, FSA, pre-tax, allows certain costs, cafeteria plan needed, tax savings, and remember that use it or lose it rule.
All right, let's tackle one last practice question on work life. Company ABC offers a dependent care FSA up to $5,000 per year and a health FSA of $3,000 per year. John contributes the max, $5,000 to his DC FSA and $3,000 to his health FSA. Which statement is true? A, John's contributions are pre-tax under IRC 125. B, only $2,500 of John's DC FSA is pre-tax because of the $2,500 rules for married filing separately. C, the health FSA contributions are taxable income. D, John must pay income tax on the DC FSA contributions.
Okay, looking at these options, the correct answer A. Under a properly structured Section 125 cafeteria plan, both his dependent care FSA and health FSA contributions are made on a pre-tax basis. That's the whole point, the key benefit. B brings up the married filing separately limit, which is $2,500 for DC FSA, but the question doesn't state his filing status, and the general limit is $5,000. So assuming he's eligible for the $5,000, his contribution is pre-tax. The question is maybe a bit tricky, but A is the most accurate general statement. C and D are definitely false. The primary purpose of these FSAs within a Section 125 plan is specifically to allow pre-tax contributions.
Fantastic. You just navigated a pretty comprehensive SPHR deep dive into total rewards, benefit strategy, Let's do a super quick mental jog on what we covered. For health plans, remember HMOs, low cost, network restricted, PPOs, high flexibility, higher cost, and HDHPs, high deductible, HSA linked. Crucially, keep those ACA limits and ERISA rules straight. For retirement plans, we distinguish DB, guaranteed pension employer risk, from DC, account savings, employee risk. Think ERISA, IRC rules, and those critical vesting schedules, especially the 3-year cliff 6-year graded rules for DC plans. Finally, work-life benefits. We explored diverse perks, EAPs, tuition aid, flexible work, all driving engagement and retention. Don't forget Section 125 for those pre-tax advantages and FMLA for job-protected leave. Always link benefits back to strategic goals. Cost management, talent retention, legal compliance. Keep those frameworks and mnemonics handy. They're like your secret weapons for the SPHR.
Yeah, and this all raises, I think, an important question for you to ponder as you continue studying. As the workforce keeps evolving, more remote work, increasing global diversity, shifting employee expectations, how might these total reward strategies need to adapt? Even further, to really attract and retain the best talent in the years ahead, the landscape is definitely not static. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and really good luck with your exam preparation.